Welcome to From Head to Heart and Home. We are very excited to have you listen in on this conversation. This is a channel created by women, empowering women to take intentional action to create the life that they want, with your hosts, Carla Center, relationship coach, and myself, Shanda Soretti, certified transformational coach. So today we are talking about being committed to our pain. Okay. So we're talking about when we take a convicted stand in our story, our experience. Okay. And not to say that that's not justified or valid, but what I know to be true from personal experience, and I've seen with clients as well, is that we cannot heal so long as we are committed to our pain or convicted in our story, right? We can't heal from that place. So I'll pass the baton over to Carla to kick things off, and we'll see where this conversation goes.
Absolutely. So I speak about Joe Dispenza a lot, but how Dr. Joe Dispenza explains this, we start with an emotion. And then when we are stuck in that emotion, it becomes our mood. And then it becomes our personality because
Mm,
we are still in that pain. That pain is who we are.
mm,
It has become not just an event that has happened, but it becomes the story that we tell ourselves and others about who we are.
mm.
And we don't allow anything else in our lives to be part of that. New things, we don't even focus on them because we are so in the pain in that
Yeah.
story of this is who I am now.
Yeah. Yeah. I love what you're bringing up because it brings up a couple questions that I love asking when the time is right. And it's, who are we without that pain or without that story, right? So if we were to unhitch from that, what would that look like? Who do we get to be without it? And that's typically like what you were kind of saying. That's typically where we feel lost, and we feel like almost like grief in a sense, where we feel completely disconnected, like we don't even know how to identify ourselves without those pains or those stories, right? And so what I want to do is just to offer the idea that from this place of asking these questions, who am I without this pain or this story, and who do I get to be without it, or who do I get to become? it it invites you into curiosity, and it allows you to start thinking from possibility, right? Like, what is possible for me from this new place or from this curiosity? And so we have two programs that we operate from, which I've brought up in the past on other episodes, but I do want to bring it up again now because I feel like it's super important, and it's one of those things that is a great reminder, right? No matter how many times we've heard it. So we have two programs in which we operate, and it's very simple. We either operate from fear or we operate from love, right? So when we're in our story, when we're in our pain, we're operating from fear, right? And it could show up through trying to convince people, trying to make people understand our story, being defensive and defending ourselves, over explaining, right? It comes up in all of those ways. And then when we can switch into love, operating from a place of love, right? Coming from that program, things really shift. They're very, very different. It's expansive, possibility is there, acceptance is there, right? Like, just being willing to accept, like, this is my pain, this is my story, but it doesn't define who I am. It's not a part of me. My pain, my story is not a part of me. It's an experience that I've been through, right? And so I always like to say, doing a little check in, which I do with my clients as well, do a check in to see which program am I operating from when it comes to making decisions, when it comes to taking action, and when it comes to thoughts you're thinking or things that you're saying to yourself. Am I operating from fear? Am I operating from love?
Right. Right. And realizing that when you're doing that check in, how many times am I explaining this pain and story to somebody else? Because
Mm,
the more that it is spoken, the more you're reinforcing that that's who you are. This is me. are you talking about other things going on in your life, other thoughts that come to you, as you're being open and curious, are you looking at things, how to heal and release this, or are you looking at this is who I am now?
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. So really shifting into the understanding or the belief, like, who do I want to be? Right. We get to choose, right? And it does take effort. It does take work to get to that place of choice, right? First of all, we have to understand that it's even a possibility and an opportunity for us. But choosing who you want to be. Do I want to be somebody who is stuck in their story, who's living in their pain, right? And if so, what quality, what value will that bring to your life, right? How will that add to your life? And maybe there is no value add, maybe there is. And I will say that there you'll probably find something, but it'll be a really sneaky thing, right? It'll be something that will only keep you further and further in that pain or that story, right? Because we always have a payoff. There's a payoff for everything that we do, which is why we choose the thing that we do, because there's some sort of payoff. So finding out what that is for you. Why are you choosing, whether it's in your subconscious or your unconscious subconscious or conscious mind, why are you choosing to stay there? Do you want to shift it? What could that look like? Right?
Right. And so that's one of the reasons we bring up journaling and meditation, because if you sit down and go, let me be honest with myself, what is the payoff for this?
Mm,
To criticize myself, but to come from a loving place and say, what is going on with me? Is this um keeping me in a way that I believe is safe from doing something else? Is it keeping me connected to people in a way that I'm searching for, that I want to be connected to people. Maybe it's not the connection you really want, but you want to be connected. So really just like being honest with yourself and being aware and compassionate that moving forward is, something that you most likely want to do. You don't want to sit in this pain, and that you did have this experience, and we always encourage you to process your emotions so that you can release them, not stay in them, but
mm,
they are real. We're not saying that you just all of a sudden say, well, that never happened, but is this who I want to be the rest of my life? How long do I want to be in this?
yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I am in control.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I mean, a simple way for like, well, I really don't know, then I would invite you to like pan out like, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years time, go out and see the life that you see for yourself and find out how she or he is showing up, what they are committed to, right? And where they stand in conviction on their life. And that will likely give you answers, right? And I want to circle back on something around making choices, right? What we do when we make a choice is there's a process that we go through. Okay. So we make a choice. We choose A or B. There's usually two options, maybe there's three, but we choose. And then you want to look for all of your reasons why you chose that one. And then from there, you simply ask the question, do you like your reasons for choosing that option? If you like your reasons, great. You're good to go, right? You can check that off. You'll be able to move forward. If you don't like them, then that's when we have to go back to the drawing board, find out what our options are. Maybe there's ones we never thought of, re-choose, reselect, and then do the process over again. Look for the reasons why we chose that one, right? Or sorry, why we want that one or why that's available. And then ask ourselves a simple question of, do we like these reasons for this choice? Okay. So sometimes we might make a choice where we don't like the reason why we chose it. Maybe it's coming from people pleasing or from fear or from, some sort of lack of whatever, right? So we're choosing, but we don't actually want to back it up. Does that make sense?
Right. Right. And when we are in this, the choices, so Shanda and I are empowering you to make choices, right? That's what we're doing. When you choose to stay in stories, most of the time you're disempowering yourself and you're giving the
Mm,
power away to a circumstance, a person,
Yeah.
a situation. And just know that when we say choose, we're trying to empower you to make the choice that feels better for you instead of sitting in this. What it doesn't feel good to be disempowered. It
No.
doesn't feel good to allow circumstances, uh, people, stories to control your life. But many times we're so in that and in what happened to us that we forget we do have a choice. We do
Mm.
have a choice in, do we know what the other choices are? We aren't until we sit down and go, what else can I choose?
Yeah. Yeah. And when we feel I like that you brought up the feelings thing because feelings are so important, I think overlooked or underestimated. They don't get enough credit, right? Feelings drive a lot. And when we feel uncomfortable feelings, I think it's a really good idea to do a little check in, okay, another check in asking yourself, what's in the driver's seat here, right? If it's not me, what is there? If I feel out of control, what's in control? And finding out what that is and kind of trying to piece that puzzle together, right? And again, just being really open and curious because like things can be really sneaky. They can sneak in the slightest ways where we might not catch them first time around. So sometimes it kind of takes a little bit of space and like what I do sometimes if I feel stuck on something or I feel like I'm having a difficult time coming up with like an answer or a solution, I'll kind of take down my notes or write down what I want to write down, and then I'll put it down and walk away from it. Sometimes it's for the day, sometimes it's only for a few hours, sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night and I can go back to it, right? But allowing that to be okay, whatever that process is for you, right? You know, some people I think go in with the intention or the idea that they have to sit down and just write everything out in one shot. But I do like to encourage you to find your own process. And even if that process changes from one to the next, it's okay. Leaning into whatever that calling is, right, for you in how you want to take action on creating the results, right?
Right. Because that's one of the reasons why we wake up in the middle of the night with something else is because we've allowed our brain that space to get to a different place than where we're at. And so then it's open. Same with when you go out for walks. I mean, I'm sure Shanda has the same thing when we go out for those walks in nature, things come to us that probably wouldn't have come to us if we just stayed,
Mm,
at our office
yeah,
or, anywhere, right?
yeah,
And so it's allowing that when we say space, it's just allowing your brain, your body to just let things come to you instead of being like holding tight.
yeah.
I have to do this.
Yeah. And actually, this is reminding me what you just shared reminds me like going for the walk. This is definitely what happens. A beautiful way to get like unstuck in your thoughts or your feelings is to move. Tony Robbins talks about
Right.
this all the time. Move, right? So for example, it could literally just be going from sitting to standing. It could be from standing to jumping jack. It could be go for a walk, but moving, whether it's you're in your office and you move to outdoor space for a minute, or you go to your patio or your kitchen, right? But changing the scene is really, really beneficial too when it comes to trying to get unblocked or unstuck around these thoughts and these feelings.
Right. Right. And it helps you have more clarity instead of the looping thoughts that happen. When we're in our story, there are the looping thoughts, you'll notice that and sometimes it helps to write them down.
Hmm.
You'll be like, oh, this came up, and then later you'll go like, oh, it came up again. Maybe I should write this down because why is this coming up for me? Why are these specific thoughts coming up for me?
Hmm. Yeah.
Because that's one of the things about the story is you have gathered all the data for it. Like we're 100% positive that you have gathered enough data to show that this is, and we are like, we're a story. We look for the story. That's just who we are. We're meaning makers as
Hmm.
humans. And so we have conviction. And if somebody tries to tell us different, we're going to go back to what to the proof. And
Hmm.
so this is not about proving to somebody else that your story is true or not true, but looking at it for yourself. Okay, is this what I want in my life? Is this how I want to be? Do I want to stay in this space? Do I want to describe myself as this for however long? It's so much a choice. And to be in there is hard to go, oh, this is a choice, because you're like, this doesn't feel like a
Right,
choice,
right. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
And
So
that's the
yeah.
tricky part, right? Go ahead.
Yeah, and being vulnerable with yourself, being like, okay, I'm not going to judge myself if I go in and look at this to see what is the choice, and why has it, benefited me so far.
Yeah. Yeah. And
And that,
that's the uncomfortable part, right? Is
yeah,
understanding like our life is choice, even when we find ourselves, and especially when we find ourselves in sticky situations where we really don't enjoy. We're like, well, it's easy to think, well, I didn't choose to be here. I didn't put myself here. So sometimes, like, sure, we can't control our experiences, our circumstances. Things happen, right? Like there are some things we can't control, but like we've said before, and I'll say it again, we can always control how we react, and how we react is what matters.
right.
Because once you understand that your reaction is everything, then you will always have control over everything in your life from a very empowering, healthy point of view, right? So, like Carla was saying about gathering data and stories and proof, that is what we do. That's how we compile our life and make sense of it, right? Is we just
Right.
constantly gathering data for or against something, right? And so I think it'd be interesting to explore the other side. So if life is 50-50 and every situation has, two sides, like every coin has two sides, 50-50 down the middle, what if you were to explore the other side, right? What's happening over there? What's going on over there? What's it like on the other side, right? And just
Right.
sitting with that and kind of exploring that within yourself, just if nothing else, just to open up to a different experience, right? And it might allow
Right.
you to connect with people in a way that you haven't been able to before, or to connect with people that you couldn't connect with before, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's really a beautiful exercise of expansion. And when we are able to kind of shift or reframe, how we um act or behave, and we're like, okay, well, hang on, what if there is a different way? What if what I know isn't the only truth? What if there's multiple truths and experiences, which
Right.
is the case, right? That's why, for example, I grew up in a house with three kids. I was one of three, and we all had the same parents, right? We were all raised the same way, but we all have very different experiences, ideas, beliefs in how that went and played out,
Yep.
right? So that's what I'm saying is, and all of our experiences are true and valid, right?
Yeah, exactly. And same with me. I was raised, there were three of us, and we have very different understandings and beliefs as what happened with us. So, with your reaction, if you think about how much energy do I want to put into reacting to this person or this circumstance, and I get to choose how much energy goes into that and how much energy goes into other things that I want in my life, right? We're not saying that what happened to you isn't valid. That's not at all. But how much energy am I going to allow this to steal from me?
Hmm.
Somebody else's behavior, some other circumstance, versus how much I could put into something that could bring me joy, bring me connection, um, love, compassion, all of those things. And that's where the choice comes in.
Yeah. And going back to when we're making those choices, which program are we operating from, right?
Yep.
Are we operating from love or from fear? And it's one of those things where I like to say it's very clear. You'll know, like instantly you'll know which one it is. They're so opposites of each other, right?
Yep.
And sometimes it might help to just even place your hands on your body and tune into your body, because this is not a head question, not a heady question. This is a body question. So we want to answer by feeling where our choice is coming from, right? And so, and I would like you to ask both, right? Like, is this coming from fear? So you're being very direct in how you're questioning. is this coming from love? So you're asking two different questions, right? Not just one question. And, if it's coming from fear and you want to change that, then you ask yourself the question of like, what can I do? Right? Or how can I show up to come from love? Right? So really just allowing whatever comes up to be what's right for you at that time. Right? And just trusting your own intuition and your own guidance, because that's what this comes down to at the end of the day, right?
Right.
Choice, control, our stories, our beliefs, all of this is such a personal thing, and we get to honor that all the way through.
Right. And even when you're feeling all the emotions in your body of the fight or flight, fear feels limiting.
Mm,
Like if you're like, I don't know if it feels fearful, my body's feeling, does this feel limiting or does it feel expansive? Like, hey, this can grow, this can be something more, or is
mm,
this going to keep me? Because when we're in fear, that's when we have those walls up
yeah,
because our nervous system's trying to keep us protected.
yeah, exactly. Awesome. Well, do you have anything else that you would like to add to this little conversation today?
No, just remember to love yourself
Yeah.
through these things, the reason we bring them up so that you can be open and loving with yourself so that you can create that life that you want.
Yeah, absolutely. Beautifully said. And I just want to add to remember just to accept where you are, right? And truly understand that wherever you are, it's okay that you're there. It's not wrong. You're not doing anything wrong. Nothing has gone wrong. Okay. And the process of healing, I was just saying this to a client, the process of healing is much like we're cleaning things out, right? So the takeaway that I'll leave you with is, instead of looking at all the things that you feel like you're losing, right, or missing out on, we want to shift to looking for all the things that we're gaining through that process, right? So keep your head up, and thank you for tuning into our channel, From Head to Heart and Home with Carla and I. We are so grateful that you took the time to listen to this conversation. Make sure, if you haven't already, that you click that subscribe button below to get our notifications on our newest episodes, which come out every single week. And we hope to see you next week for another connected conversation. Bye for now.